Well, I've got far too many slides, which I've no chance of getting through in 8 minutes, but I'll do my best. So yeah, Sustaining Dunbar, just across the water, across the Forth and East Lothian. We cover the Dunbar and East Linton ward of East Lothian, and at the moment, virtually everything that people use in the local economy comes in from outside, and virtually everything we produce goes out of the local area, including most of the workforce. Actually, over 50% of people commute out of the area at the moment for work. It's very much an economy which is totally dependent on oil, and it's really this fossil fuel addiction, which is incredibly energy dense material, which has developed our economy, which is based around mechanisation, centralisation, sort of large-scale solutions, and is driving the whole globalised linear economy and inequality, I would add. So my feeling is really the biggest crisis we face is a crisis of imagination, and one of the reasons I'm here today, probably the only reason I'm here today actually, is that 40 years ago I picked up this little book called Living on the Sun by a guy called Godfrey Boyle, who went on to found a magazine called Undercurrents, which some of you might remember. But that really sparked my imagination and just showed me what a different sort of future could be created if we went over to renewable energy. Now, the essential difference with renewables is that they are, by necessity, diffuse, dispersed, should encourage decentralisation, relocalisation, and a circular economy, and local community empowerment. So it seems to me we have a potential really to realise a totally different vision of what the future could be if we grasp this opportunity presented by moving to renewables. So what we're interested in Dunbar was really try and come up with a vision of what a relocalised economy might look like, where we are meeting far more of our local needs from local resources. So we were fortunate to get funding from Scottish Government for a 2-year community engagement project to come up with a vision, which is really a 2-year community engagement project, thinking through what it would mean to be drastically less dependent on fossil fuels. What would that mean for our food supply, transport, energy, health, and so on? And then to work back from that to create an action plan to see what we need to start doing now to get us where we want to be in 15 years' time. And we, out of that, published what we called our Local Resilience Action Plan, which I'll be talking more about later if anybody's interested. But what became very clear from this was that there won't be any shortage of work in a low-carbon future, and there'll be a huge range of opportunities for skilled livelihoods, basically. So particularly around food, nutrient recycling out of the soil, growing food, change back to mixed small-scale farming, sustainable fisheries, whole sort of processing, distribution, marketing of food, and so on. Bringing neglected woodlands back into use for local timber, coppices for fuel wood supply, a whole programme of work needed to refurbish our housing stock and drastically reduce energy demand, renewables, both at the small scale and at the bigger scale, and then loads of work around education and reskilling and reconnecting people generally, children in particular, with nature and materials and the local environment. Rather keen on those. And then transport, sort of obviously light mechanics, but also new models of transport and community transport, provided integrated public transport, car clubs, redesigning our streetscapes to make them back into social spaces, and safe for bikes and so on. A whole range of possibilities around facilitation skills and participatory sort of democracy skills, new ways of having creative meetings and empowering everybody to play their part. Provision of workspace, shared office accommodation and so on. And then suitable governance structures and financial support structures, of relocalising our financial services. And then, as Sarah mentioned, huge opportunities around health and well-being, relocalising healthcare, social care, and then the whole economy building up around reuse, repair, upcycling, and then local entertainment, leisure opportunities, and so on. So anyway, just to give a flavour of the sort of range of livelihoods which should become available. In parallel with that, we tried to engage with our local community planning partnership. After a rather tedious process, we came up with the Sustaining Environment strategy, which is actually a very good document, and did feed through into the single outcome agreement and came up with some quite impressive words, which unfortunately haven't quite translated into practice yet. And that gave us an excuse to hold various workshops with the community planning partnership. We held one on resilience, we held another one more recently on economy, really trying to get people to grasp that if they would only just implement their environment strategy, then actually they would achieve a lot of the goals in their local economic strategy. The penny hasn't quite dropped yet, but we're still working on it. So basically it's the same about what we're aiming to do is basically be a small sort of nurturing, enabling, facilitating body which can help projects get off the ground. And the idea is that some of those will then grow and spin off as independent enterprises or projects. Others will wither away and die. Some will just become embedded in the sort of core activities that we do, and some will become trading subsidiaries is the basic idea. So just very quickly to mention some of the enterprises which we have spun off. The bakery, Mark already mentioned, so I won't mention it again. Except maybe to mention that, that there is a bit of a problem for sort of pioneering enterprises such as a bakery, in that they've got to operate in the conventional current economy basically, and it is quite a struggle for any business to operate at a profit on a Scottish high street. So it's not entirely financially secure yet, I'd have to say. But it's owned by 770 mostly local people, which is a good base to have. And it has done quite a lot to provide skilled livelihoods for local young people who, one at least of which was totally written off at school. The car club was mentioned. I've now got over 90 members and 4 cars. Dunbar Community Kitchen, that operates a cafe in our local community centre, but also provides employment training and skills training in food hygiene and so on. That's had a slightly rocky ride. It's actually now just handed over to an independent social enterprise. Dunbar Community Energy Company, that was our big hope for weaning us off grant funding. Unfortunately, it ran into issues with planning, so that's not yet a reality. We are looking at other options around solar farms and also sort of innovative ideas around hydrogen and community-owned energy storage. Community garden, we're trying to find ways to make that financially self-sustaining. It's in the grounds of our local cottage hospital, which operates mostly as a care home, and there's lots of opportunities for providing therapeutic work opportunities and skills training apart from producing food, obviously. We're just fortunate to be named Dunbar's first zero waste town, which will create a whole raft of opportunities for new enterprises around reuse and recycling, repair and so on. But probably the most exciting initiative, which is still at an early stage, but in the neighbouring village of East Linton there's a 2-acre site come available, a brownfield site, in the middle of which is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a B-listed octagonal former auction mart building. This used to be a major cattle market, which is currently used as a builder's yard and is in some disrepair. But we're just working up at the moment an application for the Scottish Land Fund to bring this land into community ownership and to develop it as a community enterprise park. To bring together, it's a fantastic space, this octagonal building. We're sort of aiming to make this into some sort of community hub for events, and then with a range of flexible workshop space accommodation about. So yeah, I can talk more about that later on if anybody's interested. But for us, this is a crucial part of the jigsaw, is getting in place flexible, affordable workspace and shared office accommodation for people who want to start new enterprises. It's not the only bit of the jigsaw that needs to be put in place, but it's a crucial lack in our area at the moment. So yes, our idea really is that eventually we have a local investment fund which can enable us to run support services and incubate new projects and spin off new enterprises, which the hope is then can feed back into the local investment fund. Unfortunately, to date, the enterprises which we have successfully spun off are all marginal at best, so don't have any profit to put back towards the centre, but we live in hope. I think that's all I wanted to say. Is that all right?